By Alderin Sampear and Tumelo Motlhaudi and Patricia Visagie, who are at different parts of the venue, just to give you a rounded coverage of the whole event. Let's cross to Rustenburg now.
Well, thank you very much, Alicia Jali. Well, good morning and a very warm welcome to this special broadcast brought to you by SABC News. Well, we're coming to you live from the Royal Bafokeng Stadium, and that's in Rustenburg, and that is where President Jacob Zuma, the president of the governing party in South Africa, the African National Congress, will be delivering a keynote address, an event popularly known as the January 8th Stadium, and that is when the ANC sets the scene for the year. It's the biggest event, certainly at the beginning of the year, before we go to the State of the Nation address, before we go to the budget, before we go to Freedom Day, June 16, and all the other main events of the year. The ANC usually takes this opportunity to really reflect on the past year, but also set the scene for what is going to happen, the sorts of campaigns, the sorts of issues that it will be tackling, the sorts of issues that it believes should be foremost in the minds of South Africans. Promises do get made. Of course, a lot of people will then begin to argue as to whether they do indeed get followed up. Well, President Jacob Zuma has that unenviable task of reflecting on the past year, the promises that he made a year ago to this day, and of course set the scene for what he believes his organization and indeed his government will be able to do in 2016. Well, we at a time when a lot of events have been happening in the past week alone, the incidents of racism, tweets and retweets, people losing their jobs over the whole racism row. Is he going to reflect on that issue? We've seen over the past month lots and lots of things happening, ministers coming and going, markets reacting to all sorts of developments that we've seen. Will the president reflect on those? It's the beginning of the year. A few days ago, matric results came out. University calendar is about to begin. Will the president reflect on that? Of course, we will see over the next couple of hours as we bring you this coverage live from the Royal Bafokeng Stadium. Well, I'm not alone. I'm with my colleagues. I'm going to start on one end of the stadium with Tumelo, who is going to give us a sense of what he is seeing from his vantage point.
Well, thank you very much, Vuyo. Out here, as people make their way into the stadium, it is absolutely black, green and gold. It's all ANC. People have been flocking in their droves for the past hour or so. We have seen that the foot traffic has increased exponentially. People here expressing their excitement, and of course I'm joined here by Patricia. Patricia, what sense do you get from the people, and how many will be allowed to get into the stadium?
Well, certainly a lot of excitement is prevailing, and as you have mentioned, Rustenburg is definitely painted green, gold and black as the numbers have flocked in. People have come from all parts of the country to be here, to be part of the celebrations. So thousands have already gathered here at the stadium, and we expect more thousands to flock in. As we're speaking, people are already flocking in. So we're expecting anything between 70,000 and perhaps even over 100,000. That's the number that they were talking about yesterday. And we really expect that is going to be the number. You have been seeing that since very early this morning. A lot of people, thousands, have been flocking in. But perhaps the mood, that's the one thing that we cannot miss. It's very electric. And what's your opinion about that?
Well, the mood certainly is sounding very, very electric. The people are very, very lively, very excited. But don't take it from me. Let me just take a few moments to speak to the people here in Rustenburg, outside the Sports Palace, the Royal Bafokeng Sports Palace. Dumelang Malekai. Le ikutlwa jwang kasheko le lebeletse hore President Jacob Zuma wa ANC le President wa naha ya South Africa ha bua o tlo o batla a bue kang?
Ke batla a bue ka hore a etsetse batho ntho tse ntle. And le bana ba di chuana shebe le bana ba di offense mo re leng teng re na le bana ba di offense na bana thuso mo ba igrante ne re batla ka re thusa ka ntho tse jwang
re na le batjha hape mona outside the Royal Bafokeng Sports Palace. Ntate wena o lebeletseng from President Jacob Zuma?
Mina ngajabula ukuthi uma President Jacob Zuma angasilungisela indzaba tabo NSFAS asifuni ukutoyitoya njengoba strike isigcine singaphilanga uma lapho nekuthi lenzaba inequality uma ingaphela unemployment nalento ukuthi ma student makaqedza kufunda batshela ukuthi bafuna 3 years experience asifuni lento leso simayiphele sicela ukuthi Jacob Zuma asirepresent kakuhle.
Thank you very much. So basically that's just some of the sentiments coming from those who are making their way into the Royal Bafokeng Sports Palace now, and they were basically reflecting from the older people, saying that they're looking for issues of social development, things like social grants. They're hoping the president speaks to that as to how government social security network can continue to service and of course support the elderly and those in need. And the young people, it's all about education. The young man there I was speaking to was saying that he's talking more about NAFSAS and of course how government can support young people further their education. With that, it's back to you, Vuyo.
Well, thanks very much, Tumaole. And Patricia will, of course, remain where the people who are coming here are really going to at that gate, and that is where they will constantly give us some insights into what the people from their vantage point are saying, what they also hope for, the sort of things that they would like President Jacob Zuma to talk about. And as far as already an issue they are putting on the agenda, as well, of course, as jobs and social delivery. Well, let's go to another of our colleagues, and that's Aldrin Sampier, who's not too far from the main podium, the main stage, from where President Jacob Zuma will be speaking. He's going to give us a sense of what he is seeing and hearing from his vantage point. Aldrin?
Well, good morning, Vuyo. Well, quite certainly standing here on the beach. It's very, very hot here at the Royal Bafokeng Stadium. Remember, the temperatures are expecting to reach a high of 41 degrees. While various NEC members have started to arrive here at the event, as President Jacob Zuma will deliver the keynote address, the ANC's NEC statement on January the 8th. While various people have been making their way through to the stadium, the ANC said that it was expecting more than 150,000 people to be making their way here. Well, right now I can tell you that the top part of the stadium, or the second half of the right-hand side of the stadium, is starting to pack up, and then you have the ANC Women's League in their traditional green and black dresses, dancing and singing along to the struggle songs that have been echoing throughout the morning since the event started. While the formal proceedings are expected to start later on, and as I mentioned earlier on, there have been concerns raised around the issue of the heat, and we have the indication from the ANC's NEC that they hope that the president will deliver his speech by no later than 11 o'clock. Quite a lot of issues that we expect the president to raise, as well as the issue around land, which is something that he mentioned during his speech yesterday at the gala dinner that was taking place at the Sun City Super Bowl last night, saying that it's time that the ANC probably take some bold steps. And speaking to some of the reporters last night, they were saying they wonder what this means. Does this mean that we really need to look back at the policies on when it comes to land reform? Because the president says that the reason that the country is still facing the triple challenges of unemployment, inequality and poverty, it is because of the issue of, as he puts it, land hunger. It's back to you and Studio Vuyo.
Well, thanks very much, Aldrin. Aldrin St-Pierre is, of course, going to stay right where he is, as he too will be giving us a sense of what he's hearing and what he is seeing from just at the edge of the main stage, from where President Jacob Zuma will deliver that much-awaited keynote address. It's called the January 8th statement. It's essentially a statement not only from him, but also a reflection from the National Executive Committee of the ANC. They normally sit days ahead of this particular rally, and they look at various issues that they believe the nation needs to hear them speak about. What those issues will be, we will of course hear as soon as President Jacob Zuma begins to reflect on those issues in his address. Lots and lots of issues, people rather, still streaming into this venue. Buses, loads and loads of buses outside, bringing people onto the Royal Bafokeng Stadium to come and fill up this stadium. From what the ANC has told us, the stadium is going to be filled to capacity. Not only that, there's an overflow area on the other side of the stadium with big screens where people will be able to see and hear what will be going on right inside. Of course, one of the issues that rubbed the alliance partners up the wrong way in the run-up to this day was a rumor that the tradition of them giving messages of support, sharing the stage with President Jacob Zuma before he gives that keynote address, a rumor that that was no longer going to happen. It raised a lot of eyebrows. It really incensed some people, but of course the ANC Deputy Secretary General Jesse Duarte yesterday saying there has never been such a thing or thought even that was never going to happen. Things are going to continue as per the tradition of this particular day. Of course, President Jacob Zuma did last night, as Aldrin St-Pierre said a little earlier, he did sort of start reflecting on some of the issues that we can, I think, assume are topmost in his mind. He did speak about the ethos that should be expected not only of ANC Acadians but of public servants. He did speak about arrogance. He did speak about the tendency to take things for granted and to take the people of South Africa for granted, and saying those things should come to an end. He did also, of course, mention a lot of other things, the arrogance, the sins of incumbency, as the ANC prefers to put it, saying those are the things that need looking into. But of course, usually the criticism of this day is that a lot of reflection gets made, and often, in fact more often than not, the ANC usually has its finger on the pulse. The ANC president usually says all the right things. The trouble, analysts and critics usually say, is in the implementation of those ideas. In other words, they don't get a sense that ideas or that analysis gets followed through and gets things that would have been put on the table do indeed get followed through. We'll of course be reflecting in a short while. We'll be speaking to some of the officials of the ANC, one, to get a sense of what went into really getting this day, putting this day together, but of course what we could perhaps expect, certainly from what the National Executive Committee of the ANC would have empowered President Jacob Zuma to say here today. Well, all of that and more will be bringing you here as we come to you live from the Royal Bafokeng Stadium in Rustenburg. For now, though, we are going to take it back to Alicia in Auckland.